Good evening and welcome to TalkSports, our weekly program where we speak to the movers and shakers of sports, the sportsmen, the sportswomen, past and present, administrators, whoever wants to involved in sports, we speak with them. We discuss with them. We find out what's happening. Well, this evening on our program, we speak to Mr. Ray Ford. Mr. Ford is Jamaican by birth, but he believes that he has what it takes to bring a change in terms of West Indies cricket and a change in the context of administration. So we'll be speaking to Mr. Ray Ford. We'll get to know a lot about Mr. Ford himself and what he believes he can bring to West Indies cricket, the fortunes of West Indies cricket. So let me introduce my guest this evening, Mr. Rayford, and welcome him to the program. Good evening to you, Mr. Ford.
Hi, good evening, Mike. How are you?
I'm fine, and nice linking up with you. As indicated, I've been, following your columns, and
Uh-huh.
I only recently but realized that you have been writing these things for quite a while, because
Yes,
I happened to go back and check and realize you have been writing in terms of West Indies cricket for quite a number of years. But
that's correct.
first of first of all, Mr. Ford, tell us something about Mr. Ford, Mr. Ray Ford.
Well, in the context of West Indies cricket, Ray Ford is a stakeholder. He's been watching Test match cricket uh, played in the West Indies since 1962. He played cricket in high school from 1964 till 1970. He has written on West Indies cricket for magazines which were edited by Christopher Martin Jenkins, Tony Cozy, and Keith Holder. He has followed the fortunes of West Indies cricket, the ups and downs, and he feels that we are in a trough right now, which needs an inflection point. And he is now raising his hand to instigate that change, to bring back joy to West Indies cricket supporters and fans.
Mhm. And why you think that you have what it takes to bring about that change?
Well, to me, uh, I think I think it's a lot of people say West Indies cricket started to go down in 1995 when Australia snatched the Frank Warren Trophy from us. And that match took place at Sabina Park, the last Test match, and I was there. And since then it's been like a boxer knocked down on the canvas, and he's stumbling to get up, but he can't really get up. And what I see is that there are a lot of things holding us back. I'd say one thing is our cricket culture and our leadership, because to have good followership, you have to have good leadership. And I think one tailed into the other. And I'm not here to blame anybody specifically or to blame any administration specifically. But looking at the results, we have done a few things well, but I think we have a lot more to do, a lot better things to do to bring about an inflection point in West Indies cricket. And I think I can instill that change, not in an arrogant sense, but I think, being outside of the West Indies cricket per se, I think that's what we need, somebody from the outside. It doesn't necessarily have to be me, but somebody outside of the culture that we are now uh, engrossed in, which appears to, we cannot get ourselves out of this tailspin. And I'm raising my hand to attempt to do that.
But there will be the argument, Mr. Ford, that what is wrong in West Indies cricket more so to do with the players and not too much to do with the administration. There are those, and I'm saying arguments,
Uh-huh.
for and against,
Mhm.
players' performance and not much to do with administration. But how do you get people to buy in to your belief that the change has to be from the administrative part of West Indies cricket?
Well, in any business or in any organization, there's a thing called culture. And I think we all know what that means, beliefs that people buy into and, a set of values that people hold high. And, when we look on West Indies cricket on the field, I per se, I myself see a lacking in discipline, what should I say, eagerness, responsibility, all the negative things that I think stems from a bad cricket culture. And, right now, at this particular time, in this week, okay, we had this talk show out of Barbados. I won't call the name of it. It comes on Tuesday nights. And we have this test series going on, just beginning between Australia and England. I watched a couple 2 nights of it, and then my mind sort of reflected back to the West Indies in Sri Lanka. And what I see is a gulf between the two sides, or, between the two experiences. West Indies cricket is, so far behind, the England and Australia contest that, I see this gulf as something that has to be bridged. And I'm not blaming the players per se, but I think, the whole culture of West Indies cricket is being left behind. And it's not the administration versus the players or vice versa. But, take for instance, let me use an example of a jet engine. It has several parts and several gears. If those gears don't function and mesh together as one, as expensive as those parts might be, that engine will never work. And what I see right now is a lot of expensive parts laying on a mechanics table, which aren't fitted together and which aren't working. And that fact, I think, has brought us where we are and is holding us where we are and preventing us from getting back out.
Mm-hmm. And there's also the argument that the Ricky Skerritt administration is a bit player centric.
Yes.
And you know, yeah, and I, as I said, arguments, and we have a lot of arguments in the region, as to what they believe the administration can do and what they should not do. But what it is you see in the Ricky Skerritt administration that, if you given the chance, that you will probably do differently?
Well, when you mention player centric, uh, that's a stated philosophy of the Skerritt administration. I'm not knocking that, but I'll put back the question to you. This player-centric philosophy, what has it brought us? Is it bringing us consistent winning? Do we look like we're turning the proverbial corner, or we're coming out of the trough? It's okay to say you're player-centric, or you're, what should I say, I'm against the administration or what have you. So it's not one against the other. What I look at is results, where we are. And if a stated philosophy is not bringing about the changes that we all desire, what's the use of having it? You can't have a good culture giving you bad results. You have to tie one thing to the other. So it's okay to say, you're a player-centric organization, but I turn the tables back to you. What has this achieved? What has this been bringing us? It's not working, as far as I'm concerned.
Mhm. So, therefore, what it is, in generalized term, that you believe you can bring to the table, that folks will be able to buy into your concept of change in West Indies cricket?
Well, for one, it's an attitude. It's an attitude. It's an attitude that, sort of imparts responsibility and accountability and commitment. And commitment. I don't want to get trapped into, focusing on the Ricky Skerritt administration per se. But since you brought it up and you're leading me along that path, let me mention a couple of examples. Okay. A player is selected to play a series in New Zealand. He's contracted to the West Indies, to Cricket West Indies, and he says he needs a rest, he needs a break. And in 2-2s, he shows up in a cricket league in Sri Lanka. Let's just say Sri Lanka per se. I don't want to be too exact. This player is contracted to Cricket West Indies. He's been picked to play for the West Indies in New Zealand. He says he needs a break and he shows up in Sri Lanka. People are saying, how can that be? And the head honcho of cricket is saying, in essence, I'm not going to give that player a fight because he has food to eat. He needs to eat food. To me, that may be just one incident, but it sort of sets a scenario or sets an example of if this is being player-centric, I think that's taking us down the wrong path. And in saying so, if I were ever to lead Cricket West Indies, one thing I would insist on, and it's nothing new, Australia, I think, do it. England, I think, do it. You're committed to West Indies cricket first. If you want to play or if you're contracted to play other leagues, fine. But when you're called to serve your nation or your country, you have to give up that and give us 100%. You can't be giving excuses and then playing in other countries or in other leagues. And then me as the administrator, or the man in charge saying, that's okay. You have a family to feed. No. That's one aspect. I guess, I'm reflecting my age. But in my time in high school, I learned that discipline was important. Discipline is part of the game. And you have to be committed. This wishy-washy thing of when you want to play or when you can play or when you should stop playing, I think it's a corrosive effect. And it has not gotten West Indies where we want to be or on the path of ascension. And these are the little things that I would be adamant about changing.
Mm-hmm. Well, it still brings us back to the initial issue of the administration being player-centric. Okay,
Yes.
so it's seeing more the welfare of the players. But while that is so, Mr. Ford, and a lot has to do with in our discussion, and we are seeing a lot of debates about performance of West Indies cricket and about the administration, about coaching, etc., etc. There's also a larger argument that not enough cricket is being played in the West Indies, especially at the development stage. The youngsters are not really playing cricket as they should in terms of developing and inculcating the skills that they should, so that it can move into West Indies senior cricket.
Mm-hmm.
What's your reaction to this?
Well, that's another thing again. And, I don't want to be specific, but I heard one administrator coming on the Tuesday evening show. He's talking about drifting away from club cricket and youth cricket, and again, making the Caribbean more coach-centric. That means he would go around, subjectively pick players who he thinks have potential, and then bring them into this grand coaching scheme where, you can coach them into being good players. I don't say coaching doesn't have a place in the development of cricket, but I think, in my opinion, what plays a greater part in the development of a cricketers. It's just what you're saying, playing cricket at a younger age, playing youth cricket. And, we have stepped away from the schoolboy cricket, the club cricket, the youth cricket, all these smaller cricket competitions, which in the past were used to harden players, to let them develop playing in different conditions, develop their own skills. And then from that, you would have a bigger pool from which you would pick, people to then refine them through coaching. But right now, this is a problem. Take, for instance, let's look at the last series, the last test out in Sri Lanka. People are or some of the cricketers are complaining. I wouldn't say complaining, but they point to the fact that the pitches were spin friendly. I mean, as a youngster, when you play backyard cricket, pickup cricket, competitive cricket at that age, you get to play on pitches which are not as well prepared as you would like. And you develop some navigational skills, which, historically, those skills have served players when they reach to the top level. Now, you cannot get that through coaching. You have to get that through practice and, domestic cricket, which puts you in situations where you have to work yourself out of. And that's what, first-class cricket or international cricket is all about, navigation. You look on, like I said, the England and the Australia match, right? You see batsmen getting themselves, spot a bother, and then they work themselves out. Guys like Labuschagne and, the fellow who made the century last night, these are relatively newcomers, but they've played a lot of domestic cricket, a lot of youth cricket, and when they've gotten the opportunity at the top level, you see they come prepared, like a duck being thrown in water. Whereas we, our players come, okay, they may make a 40 or a 50, but in the long run, they are found out as being lacking in preparation. So I would put my emphasis just where just where you alluded to. Youth cricket, schoolboy cricket, developmental cricket. And you may ask, where's the money going to come from? I don't know. Well, that's another question you may want to follow up with.
Well, even before I follow up on that, what I need to follow up on is that you are based in Michigan.
Yes.
Okay. So how do you hope to move ahead with your plans to seek the presidency of Cricket West Indies?
Who is the CEO of cricket right now in the West Indies? Johnny Grave, right?
Yeah.
He's not West Indian, or he's not domiciled in the West Indies. He's born in England. But Cricket West Indies feel that Johnny Grave has a skill set that would be advantageous to the organization. I'm no different. I'm West Indian through and through.
Yeah,
I was born in Jamaica.
I understand
if
that.
If you want me, if I'm good enough, if I make up good enough argument, and you feel that I'm worth the while, you would get me.
Yeah, so I'm asking you how you plan to move ahead. I just use Michigan base, but
yes,
how you plan to move ahead with your plans?
Yes. Well, the first thing, and I'm thinking, right now, I know I'm putting the cart before the horse, but I know I should have gone down to the West Indies a couple of months ago to try and make an impression on the directors. I had that in mind and was stopped in my tracks by this COVID thing. I don't want to get quarantined for 2 weeks and all that. But what I need to do, and what I really had planned to do, and I'm still looking forward to doing, is going down, meeting with each director in each territory and making my case. Because, I hear people arguing going back and forth between this administration and the previous one. And in my opinion, to me, that's a non-starter. Nobody else has put up their hand, and I'm putting up mine. So, based in Michigan, to me, is not a handicap. As a matter of fact, sometimes when I think about it, it could be an asset, because I'm not part of the horse trading, and I'm not subsumed by the West Indies cricket culture as it is. You can't continue talking about change, wanting to change, and not willing to accept new ideas. That's how organizations work. Sometimes they'll need some freshening up and they look outside. But I don't look at myself as being based, in Michigan as a handicap. If there's a mutual understanding that my presence could help West Indies cricket, I'm sure that the powers to be will make that happen.
And you disclosed that you are a stakeholder of West Indies cricket, and rightly
like you,
so.
like yourself.
Yeah, rightly so. But have you been in contact with other stakeholders as well? Former cricketers themselves, people who have a direct interest in West Indies cricket.
Well, yes, I've been in touch with quite a few players, but that contact or that engagement is not something that's that started now. My first overseas, my first stint at seeing cricket overseas was way back in 1981-82. I was one of the few people at the time who was bold enough to go to Australia. So I was embedded in the West Indies team of that era, and I've made quite a few, acquaintances from that experience. And I've traveled to South Africa and England, and I've been around West Indies cricket. I played schoolboy cricket with at least 2 West Indians, one on my team and one against. And, that was in 1968 to 1970. So to cut a long story short, yes, I have been in contact with a lot of, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but a few. Not only in contact, but some of them are lending me their advice as I, walk this path to lead West Indies cricket.
Would you add, apart from advice, support as well?
Yes, support. Yes.
All right. So in moving ahead and looking ahead, I should say,
Yes.
What are the next steps you hope to take? I know you mentioned about traveling to the region, to the Caribbean, and COVID and what have you. But then I know the series, the England series, for example. Any plans that you may move into you may move about in the Caribbean?
Not move about. I can only go to one test match and the one in Grenada.
Oh, okay,
I was hoping I was going to Barbados, but boy, those hotel accommodations they're sold out. They're sold out pretty quickly.
Oh,
So
okay.
you can only kill so many birds with a few stones.
Mhm.
And I intend to go to Jamaica first because that's my home territory, and I hope to make an impression there. And then I hope to get to Barbados later on, not during the test match, but after. But, you have told me how beautiful your island is. And so I'll be going to Grenada for the first time, and I hope that I'll see a couple of people there, and I hope to try and make an impression on them there.
Mhm. Okay. Well, good
Well,
to
not
know.
only that, I hope to go there armed with my manifesto, which I'm working on right now.
Okay. Oh well. Therefore, you have reached what I would say a very advanced stage of your preparations. If you into the manifesto aspect
Yes.
of it.
Yes. Well,
You
have to have something to sell to somebody to tell them what you're about. And the only way or the best way I know of is to state in my case in the manifesto. As to what my goals are, what I'm about, how I expect to bring about change, what sort of organization culture I hope to run, where will I place my emphasis on, that sort of thing.
And do you mind sharing with us some of the? I know you mentioned some aspects of before, but sharing some things from the that manifesto.
Yes, well, we talked about youth cricket. Uh, I think that corporations in the Caribbean need to be more tightly engaged, with cricket. I think Cricket West Indies now, they have done a fantastic job engaging overseas sponsors, big name sponsors, for gear manufacturing, gear, and they get a lot of money from overseas big name companies. But I think that's one aspect of sponsorship. I think if local companies or regional companies are more engaged, then this brings a better bond. And not only that, corporations won't only be helping cricket, but they'll be being good corporate citizens. In that, as you know, in the Caribbean, there are a lot of crime, youngsters in crime and getting into trouble. If local sponsors come on board and sponsors and begin to sponsor schools, youth clubs, and all that, they will siphon off people who would, who are right now on the streets. And that could be a two-way street. You do something for West Indies cricket and you do something for your corporation. And this is where I think I would like to put my emphasis. I would like to, right now it's a hard sell, but I hope to get West Indies cricket to a point where sponsors will want to sponsor West Indies cricket, as opposed to what's happening right now, where, as you may know, two major sponsors, they have chosen to leave West Indies cricket. Now, I would sit down with those sponsors in a post-mortem way and say, okay, you have to go, but why? What were we doing wrong? What can we do better? What would have attracted you to us? Is it discipline? Is it how we play the game? Because we can't be winners overnight, but sometimes attitude can connect a sponsor to a team. And I don't know why these sponsors have left, but I think we need to re-engage local sponsors. And that would be top of my list because, the programs I'm talking about effecting, those programs cannot be put in place without money. And governments, they're strapped these days with other priorities. So it becomes more to corporate Caribbean to get involved. And that would be probably the mantelpiece of my administration.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever tried to incorporate or probably collaborate with the current or probably past CWI administrations?
No, I have not, even though I would very much like to. But there again, we go back to culture, and this is not a criticism really. This is how the thing is. This is how things are. I think West Indies cricket, they're sort of averse to people who look like outsiders. We love the cricket. We're based all over the world, but if you're not part and parcel of them, then you're looked on as an outsider or a potential intruder. And this sort of alienation or distance, tends to be discouraging. As much as one may try, if you're seen as somebody as somewhat of a threat, then you're not looked on as somebody who is going to help a situation. And to cut a long story short, no, I'm still on the outside. I write. I what should I say? I watch and I write and I comment, but I'm still on the outside, and I've always been. Take for instance, this leads me to that. you may make history as the first what do you call it, video chat man to bring me on his program. My announcement that I'm running for this office to help lead West Indies cricket, it appeared in 3 papers: the Barbados Today, Trinidad Express, and the Jamaica Observer. And, you are mainstream media, but what I'm saying, I would have thought that, I'm not saying this in a braggadocious way, that other sports programs, would have tried to contact me to find out what I'm all about. So, you get this feeling of being marginalized, or not being taken seriously. And just saying that, I want to commend you for having me on, because, I really wanted to ask you, what did you see which made you reach out to me to come on your program? And that should be a learning experience for me.
So therefore, is it a culture you have noticed within the Caribbean, and probably that has also infiltrated Cricket West Indies? That is why I know you made mention of this sort of almost like a boys' club,
Yes.
And is it that's why you think that you have to sort of break that sort of culture and bring something new into West Indies cricket?
Well, I don't want to look on myself as a gladiator of some sort, breaking up a culture. But if a culture is not working for you or working for the organization, I don't know if you listened to that program out of Barbados last Tuesday, but there was a head of state on talking about, let's start a symposium. Let's have a symposium on West Indies cricket. And I Googled the gentleman's name, or the honorable gentleman's name, and the same gentleman raised the same argument 7 years ago, using the same words. Let's raise a symposium. Let's start a symposium, which he did 7 years ago. I would like to ask him, what came out of the last one, right? What changes came out of that? And if that symposium was a success, why does he have to advocate repeating it? What I'm saying is, on these talk shows, we keep inviting the same suspects over and over with the same argument, making the same argument they made 7 years ago or 10 years ago. We keep inviting the same suspects, and West Indies cricket is going nowhere. Now, if these people are agents for change, how come West Indies cricket hasn't changed? They're just saying, you can't be doing the same thing over and over, and it's not working, yet still you keep expecting results. People keep asking for change, yet still they're inviting the same people to discuss the same things in the same circle that they've been doing for years. Where's that putting us? So it's not a matter of, tearing down cultures and being some revolutionary or some, what you call it? Well, I guess that's the word, revolutionary. No, it's not. It's trying to get West Indies cricket out of the doldrum that it's in. And if what's the going fair now isn't doing so, why should I stay on the sidelines?
But
you have to try something different.
Yeah, but do you think there are people who are willing to listen? It seems as if it's part of the culture now. So
it's part of the culture,
right?
But there's nothing that beats a failure but a trial. Now it's up to me to make an impact on the directors I'm going to meet. That's why I'm sharpening up my argument. I want to listen to them. I want them to tell me what they think their problems are. I want to put my ideas on the table, and if it happens that I resonate, I'd be happy for that. But if not, and I don't want to think about that right now, at least I can rest assured that I did try. You know, if they fancy somebody, you know, other than myself, so be it. But I want to lay out my approach, you know, discipline, sponsorship, engagement, responsibility, you know, cliquism, you know, blow up that cliquism, you know. Take, for instance, well, I want to be more involved, per se. You know, I see myself as more involved, hands-on. And like, again, I don't want to knock an administration, but I have to come to you with something different. I would not, if I were the president of West Indies cricket and my head coach picks this current batting coach, I would have to say, no, explain to me why you're bringing this fellow in, right? Why are you bringing this fellow in? I would not put up my hands and say, oh, that's not my job. It's not my job to pick pick the selectors, or, you know, to pick a supporting coach. I'm leaving that hands off to the head coach. No. If something does not look right to me, my cricket experience should tell me that questions have to be asked. And this is where I feel I would bring a difference. And this is the sort of change I would like to get across to the directors that I'm here to offer.
But in a way, don't you think you're basically repeating, or is a clone of what they say would have been the previous administration, sorry?
How can I be a clone? How can I be a clone? If I'm saying I'm not for this one, or I was not for the past one, how can I be a clone? You know, I mean.
But getting too directly involved, you know, if you have committees or you have whatever to do with coaching and selection, why you as the president should get involved. I mean, I'm throwing it out as an argument, you know, for your you know, for your discussion, you know.
Let me ask you, Mike. Let me ask you, how long have you been following West Indies cricket? Let me just turn the tables.
Rhetorically, for as long as possible, as
right.
long as I knew, you know,
all right. Okay.
The better part of probably, you know, 40 odd years. Don't give my age.
You know? In your 40 odd years of following West Indies cricket, have you ever seen such a cantankerous group? I mean, such a cantankerous selection as the ones that we went to Sri Lanka with? I mean, what I'm saying is, over the years, okay, you know, somebody must say, okay, this guy should play, this guy shouldn't play, one or two picks. But universally, almost the entire region was against these picks. You know, this to me is unprecedented. I've never seen such a team selection that brought about such an uproar in the Caribbean fraternity in all my years of watching cricket. That tells me that something is wrong. So many people could not be wrong. So it's not that you're interfering, right? If something does not appear right, right? If something does not appear right, from exemptions, medical exemptions, to aging players, to what have you, there was too much wrong with this for a president not to, I wouldn't say intervene, but at least question. And of course, I'm outside. I don't know whether you questioned it or not. But even after the fact, you're going to say you're not making any knee-jerk reactions. Oh my, oh me, oh my. That's not me. And I am trying to give an indication right now of who I am. So if my modus operandi of how I see things, you know, doesn't resonate or they come across too strong, so be it. But you cannot advocate change and want things to stay the same. That's my position.
Mm-hmm. Let's just move back to some personal things for a moment.
Yes.
I know in the introduction asked you to say something about yourself, but you know, it seems as if you're the type that you like challenges. And about 2 years ago, you graduated, with the master's degree in
Program and
um,
project management.
program and project management. Why you decided to, seek another graduate degree? I mean, attend higher learning again, even at your age. Um, why?
Well, things are changing more rapidly now than at any time in,
Mm.
I think, the history of the world. You know, I got my bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering in 1975, an MBA in 1990. And I still feel that, I was being left behind. And I said, okay, this is what I want to do, program and project management. And I had no intention of thinking about applying this to West Indies cricket leadership. But I tell you, it's coming in handy because I
Oh,
know, eh,
in what way? Tell us.
well, I mean, when it comes to setting policy and, effecting change, I've done more case studies than you can shake a stick at. And if you see things that are in need of change, you have to, in this time, be able to pivot quickly. You can't say, let's wait and see, and, no knee jerk reaction, or your competition is going to eat you. It's not being, flippant about change, but if you spot a deficiency, you have to move quickly. Everybody knows West Indies deficiencies. But then again, it comes back to how you implement these changes, how you put these moving parts together. And this is what my training, and I say cutting edge because I'm only 2 years out of school. I'm on the leading edge of change, or effecting change, or managing change, or managing processes. You can't tell me that could not be an asset to West Indies cricket. That's my position.
Okay. Um, Let me get some comments there and then give you some time again. One, Rudian Sylvan, who is in Toronto, Canada. What
Yes.
would be the first thing you do or need to do if you become the president?
I mean, well, well, there are some positions now that I've been watching them for years, and to me, some of these positions, and please don't ask me which ones, some of these positions I feel are ineffective. So I would have to evaluate those positions, evaluate the people in them, and I would want to know if you know either these people can see things differently, or do I have to get different people? But like I said, these things cannot stay the same. And I think when you look on, two series, West Indies, Sri Lanka versus even New Zealand, India, and right now England, Australia, you can see the vast difference. The gulf is getting wider. We need to bridge this gulf. So what I would do first thing is evaluate these people, talk to them, but on the parallel track, I would try and engage corporations, engage the Caribbean uh, corporacy, and try and impart the belief on them that cricket, if they sponsor it, is good for them. So, so in a nutshell, those would be my first two things
Mhm.
I would try to tackle.
Okay. There's another comment here from Ray Roberts, and I suggest when you visit Grenada, you look out for Mr. Ray Roberts. He is a veteran sports journalist, sports columnist.
Yes,
He says West Indies cricket is the poor quality at the game at the domestic level.
yes.
And he's saying, Ray, and he carries your name, Ray, as well.
Yes.
Regardless to who you select, the result shall be the same. The coach and his team do not have the material to beat any of the top nations.
That's true. And this is what I'm not about. I'm not about it beating any other top nation. What I am into.
Ray, I'm just not seeing. Okay, yeah, I'm seeing you now. Yeah.
What I'm into. If you play positive cricket, if you play disciplined cricket, if you play responsible cricket, you would gradually get better and move up the ladder. I think I was talking to a West Indies cricketer, a former one. You know, he says, Ray, we will never get back to the past glory. But what would make him happy is seeing West Indies make an effort to climb the rung, to be competitive. You want to be in the top 4 or the top 5 out of 10. What's wrong with that? You know, you see all these teams touring, say, Australia. They're playing in Melbourne, Brisbane, and Sydney. The last time we toured Australia for test matches, they put us in, well, I guess I'm exaggerating now, but you're playing in places like Alice Springs and, some boondocks. It's like we're not ready for prime time. We're just feeling a commitment that we have to go to Australia. But as far as being a box office ticket, something is wrong in the way which we play cricket now, which differs from the way we used to. So what I'm saying, a positive attitude and a positive approach can gain us respectability, which we have lost. And in doing so, I think we'll begin to climb the ladder. And that's all I can promise. I'm not promising you're going to beat Australia next year, but we'll be playing a brand of cricket that gets us back in the conversation of good cricket teams.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. I was just looking at some of the. I saw someone saying, you done right, Comrade Ray. So I believe it's Ray Roberts. He's probably referring to, there's Ray Ford and Ray Roberts.
Okay.
And, yeah.
Is he from Is he a director in Grenada? Is that
so? No, he's not a director.
He's from.
He is from Grenada,
okay.
But he is a sports columnist like yourself, and he has he's a veteran sports broadcaster. He has been involved in sports broadcasting for the better part of probably 40, 50 years,
I see.
So I'm saying when you go to Grenada, it's probably someone you can look out to and probably have a good conversation. I'm sure Ray is always willing to, to talk sports and to talk cricket, but his belief is that the root problem of West Indies cricket is that cricket is not played at the youth level, and not enough cricket is being played in the Caribbean. It's all about the T20 and 3 days of cricket, and and a match can even last 3 days. I mean, good conversation with Ray. But
a couple years back, I think it was 2019, because I met the lady at the test at Sabina Park. But a journalist from India, she wrote a column. She interviewed Jeff Dujan, and her column was titled "The Blind Leading the Blind." How Jamaica lost its love for Test cricket and all that stuff, club cricket. And we seem to, you can be modern, yes, in modern times, but there's still some foundational principles that never gets old. Because I came up in the era watching people like Lawrence Rowe and, same Jeff Dujan and Michael Holden and some of my contemporaries. And these guys didn't just, they weren't only talented. They played a lot of cricket, race course cricket, youth cricket, what you call corridor cricket on Sundays. They said Lawrence Rowe used to work for a company, I think it's Carrier Air Conditioning. And the fellow who owned it would take him around and play on all these different pitches, backside cricket, all that sort of stuff on Sunday. It seems that our focus is different these days. We just want to impress a T20 scout to get a big contract in India or Sri Lanka or wherever the hell it is. That's our focus today. And like Ray Roberts is saying, if we get back to that sort of thing where we sort of make Test cricket the mantelpiece of our dining table, then all the other parts will fit in. But right now we're all over the place. We're celebrating things, you know. It's okay to get a tournament hooked up between you know, to host a tournament between the West Indies and United States. But it seems the goalpost is being shifted. We have been told that next year is going to be the greatest event in the history of cricket. I mean, so is that what we have gone to now? We are celebrating hosting events. What about performance on the cricket field in Test match cricket? Have the goalposts been moved? That success is now redefined? I don't know. That to me is not success, but people are selling it to us as success. This is anathema to me. Let's put it that way.
And you're convinced, Mr. Ford, seeing as Ray is also listening, I don't want to confuse both Ray Ford and Ray Roberts.
Suppose you call him Mr. Roberts and call me Ray.
But are you convinced, Mr. Ford, that you have what it takes to bring back West Indies cricket, bring back the fortunes of West Indies cricket, the development side of West Indies cricket? Obviously, it will take a few years, but do you think you have what it takes?
Well, my history, anybody who knows my background, I don't take up challenges lightly. You know, I mean, the latest one, like you mentioned, going back to graduate school in the 60s, competing with people 25 in their 30s, 20s and 30s for the same grade. I wasn't awarded any special dispensation that because I'm in my 60s, the professor is going to take it easy. I'm always ready for a challenge. You know, way back when I used to work for a bauxite company in Jamaica. And, I turned out, they had this bauxite league. And, I turned out to play bauxite cricket for the company I worked for. And they said I wasn't good enough. They ran me off the field. So I say, you know what? I'm going to bring my team to play yours and beat you. I got on the phone. I called Vivian Richards, Sir Vivian Richards now, Everton Mattis, Richard Astin, Jeff Dujan, Courtney Walsh. I brought my team. I assembled my team. I went to the manager of the corporate relations guy. I said, give me a couple of tickets to fly in some people. I brought in my people on my own because everybody was laughing at me. Ray Ford is a joker. You can't do that. And when Viv Richards was brought to Alcan, people were left dumbfounded that Ray Ford could have done such a thing. Bring his own team and beat Alcan. Right? So these are the challenges that I've been accustomed to face. And of course, the stakes may be higher, but it's the same approach. Prepared, doggedness, don't listen to naysayers, have a vision, have a plan, and work on it. The same approach. And that's the approach I plan to keep marching forward in my quest to lead West Indies cricket back to some semblance of respectability.
Lincoln Depredine, also in Toronto, is playing a lot of cricket and bowling a lot are not sufficient to ensure consistency in winning at the international level.
Yes.
Half the game is won off the field and in the mental field.
Yes. Well, that's true. I mean, look at a guy. I used one example. This guy, Mamos Labuschagne or whatever, the fellow who bats in the middle order for Australia. He came in when the captain Smith was struck and was concussed. The first ball he faced, he got smacked down himself. That was 2 years ago. And, this fellow is now one of the staples of Australian cricket. How come these people come to the test level, like ducks being thrown in water, they look like they've been there for years, and they're there for 2 years. This guy, Shubman Gill from India, the young fellow just came into the thing last year, I think he played his first series in Australia, and he again looked like a duck who has been in water for years. The thing is preparation, playing good, solid domestic cricket, good youth cricket, coming through the ranks, playing competitive cricket and rising. Because our trough is low, we get people, if you make a 20 or a 30, you're in, right? And you haven't gotten a foundation, then, you go to Sri Lanka and you're found out. You can't play spin. I hear one comment is, after the first test in Sri Lanka, we need to know when to go forward and when to go back. My goodness. I mean, you are a test cricketer and you don't know when to play back or play forward. Nah. Something tells me that the preparation was wrong. So we need to address these things at that sort of level. 15, 16. Put the emphasis there as opposed to being on these big contracts. And I think, when you have a wrong, if you're heading in the wrong direction, no matter how much thrust you have, you'll never reach where you're going. And I have a suspicion that West Indies cricket is heading in the wrong direction. And that's why I'm putting up my hand.
Okay. So finally, as a wrap, Mr. Ford, I want to hear from you in your final comments. And as a wrap, basically, your sell to the Caribbean people, why you believe you are the right person for the top job of West Indies cricket.
I believe I'm the right person because, for one, I have passion. I love the game. And, I heard Sir Gary Sobers, I heard him make a speech in Sri Lanka. I think he was a guest of honor there some years ago when the trophy between West Indies and Sri Lanka was named for, I think he was one of the names on the trophy. And Sir Gary was almost brought to tears. But one thing resonated with me. Sir Gary said, I've never made a run for myself. I've never taken a wicket for myself. I've always done it for West Indies. I think when you have a higher purpose than yourself, I think you're more motivated, you're more keen for success. Now, I happen to know some players in their 80s who played for West Indies. They no longer have the wherewithal to, resurrect West Indies cricket. They don't have the energy. I have the energy. And these players, these former players, have given me a lot of pleasure along the way, a lot of joy. I hate when they call me and say, Ray, I'm depressed. This cricket is dragging me down. I don't think about myself. I'm not coming to West Indies cricket to make a lot of money or to get rich or to get famous. I'm coming to West Indies cricket to bring back the joy to stakeholders and bring back some form of respectability to the game. That's all, as simple as that. And I feel I'm the man because I have the passion. I don't have any horses to trade. I only have one thing on my agenda, bringing back West Indies cricket. I'm not a politician. I'm not into the horse trading. The peripheral things I'm not into. I think I'm focused enough. And my track record shows that I have a dogged passion for working hard and achieving and a vision. And that's what I'm about to bring to West Indies cricket, the leadership of it.
I want to thank you, Mr. Ray Ford.
Yes.
Nice discussion. And I should say a very confident Ray Ford.
Yes.
Who believes he can bring change to the leadership of West Indies cricket and ultimately some form of respectability to sport in the region.
Well said.
Thank you once again, Mr. Ford.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Bascom.
And we'll keep in touch. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Have a good evening.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye. Okay, so there you had it, folks. Mr. Rayford is speaking to us live from East Lansing in Michigan. As you know, well, he didn't mention, but I understand he's a KC boy, Kingston College boy in Jamaica, former Kingston College. And these guys are very proud of their alma mater. Okay, yeah, and he is vying to be the next president of Cricket West Indies. He wants to bring something new into the leadership of West Indies cricket, and hopefully in the new year we probably will have Mr. Ford back again. He plans to go to the Caribbean, particularly in Grenada, in the new year to look at the West Indies, England, and we probably see if we can link back with him some other time to get a feedback from him. It's unfortunate that he has, I've been reading his articles over the period of time, and reached out to him, and he indicated that he will get back to me, and did, he got back to me. Again, it seems to be, as he indicated, it seems to be a boys' club, and that I'm surprised that none of the other programs, sports programs, whatever it is, did not invite him to be on the program here. His comments and these sort of things. But I'm happy to have Mr. Rayford, and my hope is that we'll have him again another time, just as how we invited Mr. Richie Skerritt. He was on our program a few months ago, and I'm hoping that probably some other time we'll get him to be on the program again. Thanks once again, and folks, it's a pleasure. And our program on Saturday hopefully will be coming from New York. Yeah, at the end of the Charleston, South Carolina deployment, and hopefully back to New York for the weekend, and I can't see where we'll be for the next week or 2 weeks, but definitely in New York. Thank you once again for being part of the program. Invitation again on Saturday afternoon, 1 o'clock, when we will continue with another in our TalkSports Saturday Sports Special. Until then, I'm Michael Bascom, wishing you a pleasant evening.